Hello, today I'd like to talk to you about how I'm going to do some quilting on some placemats. Now I've used a nice linen cotton fabric here, and I've got it the same both sides, and I've put between it fusible batting. It's the Hobbs 80-20 fusible cotton poly batting, which I really like because it sits nice and flat. Now I'm just going to show you today how I mark an area. I'm going to be quilting the placemat all over, but I wanted one little area that I've quilted a little bit differently. So I would need to do an outline. So in order to mark that outline, what I do is I've drawn my shape on a piece of freezer paper, which is just an irregular rectangle. I'm sure there's a technical name for that somewhere. And freezer paper has a waxy side, so you can iron that down to your fabric and it doesn't leave any residue behind. So I've ironed my shape already onto my placemat, and now I'm just going to stitch around that to get that line. Rather than marking with pencils and things that the line might stay there, I'm just going to stitch around, and I'm stitching free motion, and I've got just a very lightweight thread. It's actually a synthetic thread which has virtually no colour, because I'm not really about the thread today, it's about bringing out a quilting design. So I'm going to take this to the machine, and I'm going to just use this as my pattern to stitch around, and then I'm going to stitch around it again. So you'll see more about that as I get going. So I'm just going to start somewhere, anywhere, with my free motion, and I'm just going to do a little backwards and forwards, and that just locks my thread. And now I'm just going to be pushing that around, following that outline. Now, even though it's free motion and I could just slide it, I am going to turn it because I'm on a small enough piece that I can do that. So again, just a little backwards and forwards just to lock that, and I'm going to take that out now, and because I've locked it, I'm just going to snip my threads front and back. And now I'm going to do a second line about 1/4 of an inch away, so I don't need to change anything except just moving the needle across. Now the reason I do this is because I feel that it just gives it a little bit more of a separation, because I am going to be quilting the rest of the background behind it. So the same thing, just start with a little lock, and then I'm stitching just by eye about 1/4 of an inch away, but you may find that the particular foot you're using or something gives you some form of guide that allows you to stitch a reasonable distance away. And I'm turning again. Sometimes this line moves a little bit. What I found is that in general, unless somebody's really inspecting your work, they won't really notice. I prefer to do this by free motion because I find that the fabric sits in better rather than using a walking foot or some other option. Again, lock off my stitch and take it out. Snip my threads. And now I can just peel that freezer paper off. And hopefully you can see this on the video. I've just got now my wonky rectangle outlined, all ready for me to do some other decorative quilting inside it. But I am actually going to just quilt the rest of it, the background main area now, using a Meander Plus design. I've shown you a Meander Plus on a previous video on Tips and Techniques number 007, and today I'm going to do the same sort of thing, but in 007 I had hearts, and I'm just going to pop some stars in this time. So just get started with the meandering, and then I just do a little wonky star. Very wonky because it actually isn't really a star at all. I might practice that again. Better. is a lot of fun to do, and I'm just coming up fairly close to my outline that I've done there already with my meandering. I'm filling in all of this area. So this meandering plus just means that occasionally I do a little star where it's convenient. It's obviously not that convenient in a small area like this, but here I'm getting a bigger space, so I'll do some here. You can see these stars are slightly irregular. They're fun stars. I used to draw those sort of stars as a child. Had no idea that they were going to be part of a design element as an adult in my quilting. So I'm just going to continue quilting that, and later on you'll see these placemats come back because I'm going to show you what I'm going to do in the little areas that I've blocked out there. So thank you.